Hi, I'm Nicole Roberts-Jones, and welcome to The Fierce Files. Now, what I know for sure is that one of life's greatest gifts will meet you when you go after your more. And so here is why I share with you thought-provoking insight and behind-the-curtain conversations with women who have reached the pinnacle of success because they went after their more. Now, I really want you to get this. One idea from these episodes can make a remarkable difference, not just in your career, but in your life. And I want to make sure you join the conversation in our Facebook group. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com. Now grab your pen and get ready for today's session of The Fierce Files. Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Fierce Files. So I'm beyond excited today to introduce to all of you, and some of you would be just a welcome, to Miss Brandice Daniel. Now, Brandice is the founder and CEO of Harlem's Fashion Row. That's HFR for short, and it's the most prestigious platform for multicultural fashion designers. So HFR began in 2007 as a project of passion. How many of you guys have a project of passion? Yeah, we're going to ask her about it. Aiming to fill the void for multicultural. Now let me say she's filled the void for multicultural fashion designers and high-profile professionals in the industry. So HFR has partnered with brands such as Verizon, Prudential, Coca Cola, to name a few, and it provides custom events, and really it's the focus is for the multicultural consumer. Now, you would think that'd be enough, but she's also the co-founder and co-host of The Great Girlfriends, which is a podcast which, by the way, inspired this one, and really they created it to commit women with daily tips and solutions for living a passionate life and building a thriving business. Now, she's also a coach for multicultural fashion designers. She's a writer. She's a speaker. She's an entrepreneur. And on top of that, she's a wife and a mom. Ladies, please help me welcome Brandice. Welcome, Brandice.
Hi, thank you. I got tired listening.
Right. It's like, who's she talking about? Yeah, girl, I'm talking about you.
Who's she talking about? Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so honored to be here.
And, you know, I just have to say, I have watched you for years. So I commend you for just filling the gap for multicultural designers. So tell us, you know, in a moment where many were not seen. In that moment in 2007, when Brandice said to herself, okay, I'm going to do this thing, you already had a lucrative career. So you didn't have to say yes to that.
Yeah, no, it's that time was really interesting for me because I was working a job that I actually liked. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times people think, you know, you hate your job and then you're going to start this other thing. I actually really enjoyed my job. Mm-hmm. I worked in apparel production and got a chance to travel all over the world, like meeting factory owners and managing the production for our Victoria's Secrets account. Mm-hmm. But it just wasn't my purpose. And I was constantly looking out for like, what's that thing? Like, I knew it was there. I just didn't know where it was and what it would be. Mm-hmm. I had assumed that it would be opening up a boutique. And so I actually, on the weekends, I volunteered at this really nice boutique down the street from me. And you did hear me say volunteer because he didn't have the budget to hire me.
Right.
And I believe in investing. Like, I'm okay with investing my time if I'm going to, you know, learn something from it. And so I actually said, it's okay. You don't have to pay me, but just teach me the business. And so, you know, I really feel like it's kind of a story of one foot in front of the other. You know, you have to, like, God meets you when you're moving, not when you're thinking.
Right.
And while I was working at that boutique and, you know, doing my life in Harlem and having my job, I went to a fashion show in Brooklyn. And while I was there, I said, you know, I really want to do a fashion show in Harlem. And I knew that it was bigger than just that idea because it was one of those ideas that I just couldn't stop thinking about. But I told that guy who I was the one whose boutique I was working in for free. I told him and he said, do it. I'll be in it. And he was it was a luxury boutique. So for him to say that he would be in it, and he was a designer, so he designed the clothes that was in the boutique. That opened the door for me to say, okay, well, he'll do it. Other people will do it too. And that was really the start of HFR.
Oh, and I love it. Now she said something that was tweetable, and I have to repeat it. God meets you while you're moving, not thinking. And I love that. I often tell people that God only calls people that are busy. He's not going to call you if you're sitting on your couch not doing anything, meaning that you sit on your couch thinking. You're not in the movement. And it was because you said yes, and a yes without a paycheck. And I love it because, many people would call that an internship, right? And without even having experience and without you even being in that place, that thought wouldn't, or that seed would have never got watered, because I believe that seed was already in you. That's so good.
Absolutely.
That's so good. So even after that first fashion show, which, and now I didn't ask you this, so you can tell me, girl, you wrong. But what I know, if I know, like I think I know, when I did my first event, I was overwhelmed, tired, frustrated. It was a lot. At the end, it came together, but it was a whole lot because I didn't know half of what I was doing. Tell us about that first event.
I mean, all of that. So the funny thing is, like, I always talk about cliff jumping. And if people follow me on social media, I'm always talking about cliff jumping. And so
we're going to stop here and take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back for more. Hey there, women of power, of purpose, of passion, women of intention. Yes, you are already successful, but there's a rumble in your belly, like a secret yearning for something beyond what you already do at work, beyond your corner office, your expense account, or your six-figure salary. And if you say yes, then let me tell you that rumble is there because there's more for you to do. And what if that more allowed you to wake up every single day full of immense joy, doing work you love, working with people you love, and creating the impact you were born to make in this world? Oh, and get paid for it. Yes, it's possible. And that's why I'm inviting you to join me for my free online training called Do Work I Love. That's right. There's no more important career path than to figure out how to align your purpose with your paycheck. So go to doworkilove.com and register to join me. See, I can't wait to share with you the strategy, the insight, the tools you need to take that rumble outside of your belly and make it real in your life. That's why I'm excited about what I'm going to teach you doing doworkilove.com, so that you can get your brilliance, your purpose, your fears out in this world. If that's you and you're ready, I'll see you at doworkilove.com.
Starting this event was definitely a cliff jump for me because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any relationships in New York. Right. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the money. There were so many I didn't have. Like that list is a mile long. And I can remember one day in particular, I was, I don't know, something had happened. And during the whole process, like I was talking to my mom was like my sounding board for the whole process. And as I'm walking down the streets in Harlem, I'm just bawling, crying. Like, I'm just like, Mom, I should have never done this. What was I thinking? This is too hard. Who did I think I was to be doing this? This is during the planning process.
Right.
And there were so many times when I thought, I am so crazy. What was I thinking? I can't do this. Like, who am I? And then I would have like that spark that would come up and be like, you can do this, and so it's constantly this battle of self-doubt and this other piece of you that know that you were born and made and created to do this. And that was the biggest piece for me. It was, having situations where I brought people on my team who really didn't have my best interest at heart, but I didn't know it because I was so desperate for help because I felt like I wasn't qualified. So I was looking for people who were quote unquote qualified to be on my team and making really bad decisions with that. And, I that first event was like a boot camp, honestly. Right. I learned so much about myself, about people. I also learned who my friends were because there were these group of women who I used to like hang out and party with. But when they found out I was doing this event, they said, wait, you're doing what? Wait, how can we help? What can I do? What do you need? And we weren't that close. Right. Like we used to hang out and party, but we weren't that close. And I mean, I had friends who said, okay, what do you need? Okay, car service. I'll pay for car service. Okay, what do you need? Flowers for the bathroom? I'll go buy the flowers. Wait, you need food for the models? I'll get that. Oh, you live for the runway? I'll go to Home Depot. Like friends who are doctors and VPs and like my friends up here are dope, but they put all their titles aside and was like, girl, I'll sit at the door and check people in.
Right.
And I'll just, and so I learned that event for me was such a great personal learning experience in who my friends were in New York. Cause I have amazing friends in Memphis, but I didn't know I had that in New York.
Right.
So Memphis is where I'm from. It was a big lesson in, what happens if you just keep going, because there were so many things that went wrong during that event, but the outcome, the result of the event was absolutely incredible in every way imaginable.
And I love how you said what happens when you keep going. I'm writing notes. So look, when you hear me quiet in between, I'm like, girl, I'm taking notes for myself. So, I was listening to this sermon by T.D. Jakes, actually this morning on a treadmill, to keep it real. And the sermon is called, I Learned from Losses. And in it, he talked about you have to have perseverance, consistency, and gratitude. And just listening to you, your story is all three, because you can have persistence in the moment. And he talked about it from a diet standpoint. And girl, don't we know about diet? So you can be persistent in that moment, and then you lose the 5, the 10, the 20 pounds, and then you go eat the pound cake and all the other stuff you shouldn't have been eating because you want to celebrate because you lost the weight, which means you weren't consistent after you got there. So I'm bringing that up because what I'm hearing in your story is it was hard. You didn't know you were going to have help. There were times you wanted to quit, but you persevered. But even after that first event, which was well over 10 years ago, you didn't give up. And now because you stayed in it. So in that moment when it was over and it all worked out, right? Tell us about that Brandice. Now, I love that you also said, I want you guys to get this. She's not from New York. She's from Memphis. So to be in New York, one of the, top 10 cities in the country, and find resources ain't easy. And to dare say, I'm going to put together this fashion show for people of color when people weren't doing that ain't easy. And yet, with no team and just finding volunteers as you went, you did it. So if you had to tell your, 2007 self, I ain't gonna put ages out there, 2007 self, if you had to give yourself a message then from, your journey, looking at, even Harlem Fashion Road this year. Now, let me tell you guys, right? And by the way, we have a mutual friend, Kristen. I was like, Kristen, if you go to HFR one more time and don't tell me, I'm gonna pop you. Right? I'm like, I will pay. I will come. I want to come. I told her that a couple years ago too. But anyway, that's my shameless plug. But here's the thing. This year, she had LeBron James in her show, created a sneaker. I mean, it was just amazing. Tell the ladies, and I want you to share this because I want you guys to see, because she persevered after that horrible first show. Well, the show wasn't horrible, but the experience wasn't always good.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you back to last year.
Yes.
Here's what happens when you persevere, right? Because sometimes you aren't going to have the strength. Yep. So there have been 2 times in the time I've been in New York for, I think, 13 years. There have been 2 times during this time I've been in New York where I've decided that I wasn't going to set any goals for the next year, that I wasn't planning anything for the next year, but I was really going to go wherever God led me.
Right.
And 2018 was that year. I had no goal set for this year. So I hadn't done that in probably over 10 years where I said, I'm not setting goals for the next year. Last year, we celebrated 10 years, 10 years of consistently doing an event, presenting designers of color, connecting them with influencers and press and buyers. And we've had some extremely rough years. So 2015 was amazing. Then 2016 was so incredibly tough. Like on every level, it was so tough.
But can I tell you, Brandice, in the middle of your story, I have to say this, because what I've realized, even in my own journey, is you have mountains and then you have valleys. If you don't get through the valley, that next mountain is going to be so much greater, but you've got to climb it. And the reason why she has such a phenomenon, I know you get into this, a phenomenon 2018 is because you got through 2016.
Absolutely. Like that year was so tough. Like, I don't even know how that event happened. Like when you look at what I brought in versus what that event cost, it doesn't match. I have no clue. Like I do know, let me say that it's God's grace that made that event happen.
Right.
And so last year we had such a hard year, and I tell 2015 because I want people to know some years have been really good.
Right.
But 2017, I thought, oh, this is my 10th year. I'm going to walk into this year. Everybody's going to want to come on board. Everybody's going to want to support what we're doing. And it was a push every step of the way. When I tell you, like, I wish I could get into the details of the push that it was every step of the way last year. Then we get to the event and it rains cats and dogs that morning. So I had to buy like, I don't know, even remember like $15,000, $20,000 in tents that I hadn't
Wow.
budgeted for.
Of course, right.
And that year after that event, which was amazing, by the way, but it left me like, it just wasn't what I had expected.
Right.
And for sure, those tents like just knocked me off my feet.
Right.
And I left that event and I said, God, I'm so thankful for these 10 years, but I want to do whatever you want me to do with HFR. I have always known that this was the house he built. HFR makes absolutely no sense without Christ, like none. Like the things that have happened are just beyond anything I can do.
Right.
And so I said, I'm not planning anything for 2018, but God, the only thing I want is a brand partnership. I want to have designers partner with the brand and bring a product to the market. And I said, but I am tired. So I said, I'm tired. I need a break. I'm just going to follow your lead. Whatever the doors you open, those are the doors I'll walk through. And that was after the 2010 show. So this was in September. In October, I got my first phone call I ever had from a brand who said, hey, what are you doing in February? We want to sponsor it. That's never happened before or after that. Okay.
Right.
And because brands don't call you and say, hey, what are you guys doing? I want to sponsor it. And here's our budget.
Right. Right.
So they called and said, I want to sponsor it. And I'm still honestly, I am so optimistic. However, this was the one time in my life that I was like, let me see how much money they got, because if they don't have enough money, I'm still not doing it.
Right. Right.
So I said, what y'all's budget? They told me what the budget was. I was like, okay, I can do a nice dinner for that. So I was like, okay, God, I see you. Like, you're literally just like putting something in my lap to say, I'm here. I got you. And then in November, in October, I went to Israel, and which was such a just life-changing trip. There, I really had just a moment of surrender and came back, and I did a 10th year fashion show in Memphis, which is my hometown. I'm committed to doing the same thing I do in New York. I want to do there every 5 years. I'm committed to that.
That's
so I did
so
a
good.
5th year, a 10th year. And even that was a push, but I did it because that's my commitment.
Right.
And while I was there doing that event, I got a phone call again from someone who I hadn't spoken to in a few years. We communicated over email, but we hadn't really talked. And she said, hey, this brand called me with an opportunity, and they're looking for Black female designers. And I immediately thought of you. And she's like, you got to sign this non-disclosure and all this stuff. I had to sign my life away and make sure I wouldn't tell anybody anything.
Right.
And the next day I was on a call with the brand manager for the LeBron account at Nike.
Wow.
And it happened that fast. I mean, she was like, we need this, we want this. And I said, okay. And I mean, I hope I'm not going too long into this story.
No, this is good, girl. Look, if nobody else thinks it's good, I think it's good.
Okay, good. Because I want to show how dots connect. So I had met her 3 years ago, had pitched Harlem's Fashion Row. She said, when I have something for you, I'll let you know. That was 3 years ago. She had not come to me with an opportunity in those 3 years. She told me, I've been watching you. So now what if I had skipped a year?
Right.
Because it was hard. She said, I've been watching you. I love what you're doing with HFR. So through the years, there was a point with HFR when all I did was brand proposals because I was trying to get brands to sponsor our events. And I remember thinking, I have wasted 3 years of my life doing probably 100 brand proposals that no one's picked up. Okay. Well, this moment comes with Nike exec, and they said, we want designers, just send us over, their websites and links to their websites and whoever you think would be good. I said, okay. Well, because I had done all those decks, I don't know how to do that. If you tell me to send you something, I'm going to send it to you in a deck. Like, that's just how I think now. I think in deck.
Right.
So I did this full deck, this full kind of like all these things about these ladies, how I personally felt like they would all be great for this opportunity, all of it. So I sent it, they were blown away. They couldn't believe I had done this full on beautiful deck. And they came back and said, we don't want just one. We thought we wanted just one designer, but after looking at this deck, we want all three.
Wow.
And that was, so long story short, after that, in December, we went to Portland, met with the team, instantly connected with them. We have just an amazing relationship with their team. Like, we hit it off immediately.
And you know why? Because, I have to stop you here because, look, I'm dying, right? Because you speaking to me because, girl, I almost felt like I'm so sick of sitting proposals in. So I'm with you. I get it. But the thing I want every woman that can hear my voice, I want you to get. The Bible verse says all things work together, not some. All things work together. So, and the second thing I got from you sharing is seed time and harvest. So you planted seeds for 3 years. You watered those seeds, and it's frustrating. And think about it. Now, I'm not a gardener. So bear with me when I use this example. And I've only did it one time and my plants died, in full disclosure. So I realize I'm a city girl, so I will not be doing this again. But when you plant a seed, you got to water it and water it and water before it even starts to come out of the ground.
Yeah.
And so literally your story is speaking to that seed time and harvest. And because, again, you were consistent. Again, she could have persevered in that first show and been done. You could have persevered up until year 10 and been done. But because you were consistent and you stayed in it is why you got that phone call and why when you put together that bomb.com proposal, because what you did was what you had been doing. In other words, you did Brandice. You didn't shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Woo, that's so good. That's so good.
And let me tell you, I have to say this because when you're going through the fire and you're trying to figure out, like, is this worth it? Am I supposed to be doing this? Why is this so hard? For me, one of the things I realized is that I couldn't have handled this opportunity 5 years ago. I wouldn't have been the right person for it.
Right.
I just wouldn't have. My character wasn't where it needed to be.
Right.
And I realized through this process of like struggle and challenges and all this, God has been chipping away at my character. So what you see now and what people see, people are always like, there's something different about you. I'm like, no, I'm the same person. But what you probably see more than anything is a very raw version of me. Like, I don't really care. Like, I just don't, like, you either take me. I don't add or take away anything from who I am anymore.
Right. You're clear on who you are, point blank, period, and unapologetic about it. Whereas 10 years ago, because when you're new in anything.
5 years ago.
Right.
Even 5 years ago, this situation, I would have felt like I needed to come to the table as Brandice plus some. And when we went to that meeting with their team, I was at my rawest, barest point.
Yep.
So when I went in there, I told the designers, look, we're going to be fully us. Either they accept us, they take us, or they leave us. And that is my truth. Now it's like, you can either take me or leave me, but you're going to get me.
Right.
So you can decide. And when we went through the door, I didn't even know who I was talking to, but I started joking with one of the guys there who I found out later is like one of the most influential people in Nike's organization.
Right.
And when I went in there, he was talking about this concert he went to, and I was just like, hey, I need you to play a joke on this designer. She's coming in here. She really wanted to go to that concert. Like, you had tickets for her. And that was how I went through the door after being in there for 5 minutes. But that's actually me. Right. And that was how we started the meeting. And so I didn't like put on any airs like, it was like, this has been hard. It's really difficult. Here's where we are. Here's what we've done. Like, it ain't been easy to keep going, but we've kept going because it's necessary. And they loved it. They were just like, this is the most like authentic meeting we've had in so long. Wow. And all the designers told their real stories. And so had I not, though, gone through everything, God knew when I would be ready for this type of an opportunity. I wouldn't have been ready a few years ago. Right. So he had to finally get me to a place where I was in complete surrender mode.
And so you've grown so much from every person you've had to let go, from every, even that $10,000, $15,000 tent moment when you had to make a hard decision, but it was the best decision for your business. I mean, every decision you made that didn't feel good, the ones that feel good are easy to make, but the ones that didn't feel good and you made them knowing that you're making it for the best result of the company, not even always for the best result for Brandice, the best result for the company.
Most of the time, not for the best result of Brandice.
Right.
We start there.
Right. And because you did that, your company has grown and people have been watching you. And I'm sure that's not the last sponsor that's going to be coming through to make a phone call for you. You know what I'm saying? Because of who you have not even become. I love the conversation of becoming Michelle Obama, but you were already that person. Now you're allowing her to come forward and you're not apologetic about her. I love it.
Absolutely.
So if you had to give 3 tips to a woman that is starting, and I love, by the way, at the beginning, how you said many people leave their job because they hate it. I didn't hate my job. Keeping it real, love it. But I had this purpose, this passion in me to do this thing, and you went and did it. So if you were to give a woman 3 things that she has to do to go after that rumble in her belly, what would be, 2, 3, whatever number you would give her? What would they be?
I would say stop overthinking it. We overthink things for start where you are with what you have. I have a friend who wanted to open a restaurant at one time and couldn't afford to open a restaurant. I said, "Oh, it's okay. You can't open a restaurant. Just go to a restaurant that has a slow night and ask him if you can own that night."
Ooh, that's good.
Like, let's start there. And so I think oftentimes we get so bogged down with, the barriers that we don't take advantage of the things that are right in front of our face. I said I wanted to do more speaking. And so I started speaking on my Instagram page because if I say I want to do more speaking and I don't start with what I have, what do I want God to bless? And now I think I have 4 or 5 speaking engagements already booked for 2019, but I just started that this year.
Wow. That's
so
good.
I think you start with what you have.
Yes.
Just start. Number 2, I think you really have to adjust the conditions around you. So, who's around you? What are you listening to? What are you absorbing? Because I always say in order to cliff jump, the conditions kind of need to be right. So it's for me, every day I'm listening to some podcast or some audio book that is reinforcing what I need to do.
Right.
That is telling me, okay, I'm listening to a book now that's telling me don't hesitate. When you feel something or you feel an instinct to do something, just do it. Don't worry about what's going to happen after that.
Right.
So I am constantly reading or listening to something that is telling me that, hey, this other person did it, I can do it too.
Right.
I think the people you have around you is so important. If you've got people around who just don't believe, I don't believe in throwing people out because I think there's value in certain relationships, but there may be people around you who just don't believe like you do. So you may just have to change their proximity to you.
Yes. And
you don't have to get rid of them. You can still love them and they can still be in your life if they love you and they support you.
Right.
But you just change your proximity because who you talk to every day makes a difference.
Yes.
If you're listening to, all these things make a big difference.
Right.
And I'm going to say, buckle up. Know that this is going to be a journey. It won't be an easy one. But be willing to go through what you need to go through if it's your purpose.
And what's interesting is, and I don't know your cliff jumping, conversation, but in hearing you say buckle up, it makes me think of jumping off a cliff because I'm not a risk taker. So if I'm going to jump off a cliff, I'm going to have to buckle up and just do it. Don't think too much about it. Look at the conditions around me because if it's windy, I might be like, hold on, do I need to jump right now?
Right.
Right. But I'm going to not even think about what could happen. I don't want to think about the negative. Let me just jump and have faith that when I jump, everything is going to be okay, that everything's going to work out.
It does. And so so let me tell you. So my life without cliff jumps, without taking insane, ridiculous, what seems absolutely ludicrous steps of faith, without those, my situation would be entirely different.
Yeah.
And so my entire kind of journey has been cliff jumps from putting in my resignation without a job in New York to moving to New York, not having a place to stay. Literally I had a place to stay for 2 weeks and that was it. I didn't even have there was not a backup plan to putting down a deposit on an $85,000 venue when I only had $5,000.
Right.
That has been a consistent theme, but the consistent theme has been God has never failed me.
Yes.
He's never left me out there by myself. He's never allowed me to drown. Every step of the way, every time I've taken a cliff jump, and usually they've been prompted by him saying, just go, do it.
Right.
And I'm just I don't know how this is going to work, but here we go.
Okay.
I know you got me. And every time I've done that, it's something amazing has happened every single time. And so I just don't feel like you'll really ever see what your life can be without taking jumps. And my life would be very drastically different right now.
Right.
But, and I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I think I am a Christian. I'm a woman of God. And for me, like I kind of set my day up where I pray every morning. I have the same prayer partner. We've been praying now for 20 years. So that's kind of how I start my day. And like constantly understanding, you know, getting a better glimpse of like who God is when it comes to faith is really what helps me. So I'll read, like, Joshua is my favorite book in the Bible because God had Joshua do so many like crazy cliff jumps. And he would always tell Joshua, like, but don't fear. Like, I'm gonna tell you to do this crazy thing, but don't fear. And so I always, like, when I get into a place, I'll go back and pull out Joshua. Because it's always confirmation for me that, I mean, I have stuff I'm doing now that I'm just like, what am I doing? And I'm just moving. I'm just walking through it because God has opened the door. So I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna all work and I'll come together, but let me just go on and walk through this door like I belong here. And it's funny because my nephew is staying with me for a few months, and I've had him come into meetings with me, and he knows that on the inside, I'm like, what am I doing here? But on the outside, I'm acting like I was supposed to be there all along. And so we leave out those meetings and we just crack up laughing. Because he was like, because I'm just like, look at God. Like,
and it's such a great learning lesson from him. But I have to say to you, Brandice, everything you do, you really are showing us how to cliff jump. I mean, literally, when I just listening to your story, how transparent you were from the beginning. So I want to thank you for saying yes every time you've said yes in the face of fear. I want to thank you for standing in the gap for designers that would never be known had you not jumped and said yes to your purpose. I want to thank you for always pushing yourself into the scary place. Because that's what cliff jumping is, right? It's pushing yourself into the scary place, knowing that when you jump, God is going to catch you. So thank you for letting us get a glimpse of your journey. And thank you for sharing with us today. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Nicole, one quick thing. You just said something that I think is so major. Our cliff jumps and our steps of faith, they're not even about us.
Right.
You just said something. And that's why it's so critical that we do it because, you know, I know my purpose is for the designers that I work with. I just want them to win. I want designers of color to win. And if you're listening to this, I want you to support designers of color.
Yes.
And, you know, but here's the thing. There's been so many other people who have also won out of this cliff jump that I had no idea. I meet makeup artists who are like, oh yeah, I met so-and-so in backstage and I got a job and I traveled to Bermuda. I meet photographers who's worked with us who said, oh my goodness, I got a chance to travel with so-and-so. I met them at your event. There are so many other things that happen that I don't even know about. So there are so many other people's destinies that are tied to you.
Yes, I say it all the time. When you say yes to be the answer, you don't know who God has assigned to you, that your yes is not a yes just to you. It's to every person that's been assigned to you.
Absolutely.
That's so good. That is so good, girl. Look, we could talk for the next probably 2 hours because I know she could drop a whole lot of more nuggets. So that just means I have to have you back on. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait till it drops.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Fierce Files. Now, I want you to walk away from these episodes with value, so grab your pen and answer either one or all three of these questions. Number 1, what was your greatest takeaway? Number 2, what would you do differently as a result of what you heard? So you may have heard something you've already heard before, or you may have learned something new. Either way, don't take the insight that was shared with you for granted. So commit to doing one thing different because of what you heard. Number 3, what was confirmation for you? What did you hear that confirmed you're on the right path? See, I want you to take a moment and celebrate you. Too often in our journey, we focus on what we're not doing and we forget to celebrate what we are doing. So what was something that showed you that you're headed in the right direction? Now, I want you to share your answers. Share your answer to either number 1, what was your greatest takeaway? Number 2, what would you do different? Or number 3, what was confirmation for you? And share it in our Facebook community. So go to findyourfiercemovement.com and use the hashtag FierceFiles. Now, each experience we encourage, support, and celebrate as a community. It allows us to expand in possibility and wisdom, in encouragement and love. Now, we've invited you into our community to deepen our journey with being the answer someone needs and in being committed to your next level. So until the next time, be extraordinary, be unapologetic, be bodaciously you, go and be fierce.